Hello, and welcome to the Traffic Trial Calendar. My name is Gregory James Pinato, and either myself or another judicial officer will hear the trial calendar today. If you need an assisted listening device, please advise the bailiff. Please also advise the bailiff if you would like an interpreter. Before calling the calendar, your rights and the court's procedures will be explained. For those of you who are at arraignment, some of this information is the same, such as your constitutional rights. But some of this information is specific to trial today. All of you are here today because you previously entered a not guilty plea. However, you also have the right to change your mind about going to trial. You may withdraw your not guilty plea and enter a plea of guilty or no contest. If you wish to plead guilty or no contest, you can offer an explanation in mitigation if you desire, and the court will consider reducing your fine. If you still want to go to trial, you have the right to remain silent or the right not to testify today in your trial. That is because the police officer, as a representative of the people of the state of California, has the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Therefore, you can choose not to say anything. If you do testify, you may be subject to cross-examination, which is usually clarifying questions from the court. The court may ask questions of both sides during or after the testimony. You also have the right to confront or cross-examine the witnesses against you, which is usually the officer or officers involved in the case. When I call your case, please step forward and sit at the table the bailiff indicates. The officer will sit at the other table and will testify first as to the facts and circumstances which underlie the issuance of your citation. Do not interrupt the officer. After the officer testifies, you can ask the officer questions, if you have any. It is not required that you ask any questions. After cross-examination of the police officer, you can then tell your side of the story and present evidence if you wish. Essentially, there will be three parts to the trial: the officer's presentation of the evidence, cross-examination of the officer, and your case in chief, if you would like to present evidence or tell your version of events. If either you or the officer has any evidence to present, you will hand that to the bailiff, who will show it to the other side and then bring it to the judicial officer for review. For instance, if you have a photograph of the scene, the bailiff will show it to the officer and then to the judicial officer. All of the evidence will be returned to you after your case is over. Please try not to leave the courtroom without taking everything you presented. If, after the testimony and other evidence, you are found guilty, we can proceed to sentencing right away. By sentencing, I mean imposition of the fine, penalties, and traffic school eligibility. However, you do have the right to have your sentencing hearing delayed for 6 hours, but not more than 5 days, which means you'd have to come back on another day to be advised of what the fines and penalties are. Most people opt not to wait for sentencing and take care of it all today. If you do not say you want your sentencing hearing delayed, the court will assume you want to handle it all today. If you are found guilty, you also have the right to appeal the court's decision. You must file the appeal paperwork within a certain time frame, usually 30 days. You may also be required to pay your fine before you appeal. If you are successful in your appeal, your fine will be refunded. If your charges include any correctable violations and you have proof of correction, please mention that when your case is called. The court may be able to dismiss that charge with a transaction fee or reduce your fine or fee significantly. Please present that evidence first before we proceed with the trial so that the court can address that charge and then proceed with trial only on the other counts, unless the correctable offenses are relevant for other reasons. After all of the evidence, the court may ask questions of you and the officer if anything needs clarification. A verdict will then be rendered. Remember, please do not interrupt when the verdict is announced. If you are found not guilty, or if your case is dismissed, you are free to leave. If you are found guilty, penalties will be imposed. Fines, fees, and penalties vary for every offense. If a fine is imposed, we will discuss a due date at the time of sentencing, and you may also be eligible for a payment plan. If you select a payment plan, you will not receive any reminders about when those payment plans are due each month unless you sign up to receive text notifications. You must remember to pay the minimum payment each month on or before the date set for payment. You can also request that the fine be converted to community service. If you choose this option, you will enroll by a certain date, and then you can choose from several volunteer organizations. You must then finish all of your hours by the due date we set. The clerk will give you all the information you need to sign up. Please note that if you do not pay your fines on time, the court may refer your case to collections. If you have financial difficulties or other reasons you cannot pay a fine or fee by the due date, please come to the clerk's window and request a modification or extension order. In that form, you can explain your circumstances and request an extension or modification. These requests are reviewed regularly, and alternative orders or extensions can be considered so that you do not miss due dates and accrue additional fees. However, you must seek a sentence modification or extension from the court before the fine is due. Do not let the due date pass. In addition, if you are found guilty, you may still be eligible for traffic school. If you are still eligible and the court permits traffic school, there are additional fees associated with traffic school. Consequently, some payment options may not be available if you select traffic school. If you want to change your plea to guilty or no contest, please let the clerk know after this video and we can handle your case first. Once court begins, the clerk will swear all the witnesses in at once. Again, please advise the bailiff if you need an assisted listening device or an interpreter. Finally, if you have any questions regarding any of the information from this video or otherwise, please do not hesitate to ask for clarification or further explanation when your case is called. Thanks.